Tell us about your character in this movie because she is so over the top.
Yeah, she is. She's pretty extreme. I mean, she's somebody who's like, really, really needy. She's voracious in her need, and she's kind of childlike and tyrannical at the same time.
Okay. Obviously, as boys who live in Canada, we're very, very proud of Cronenberg.
Yes,
he's a
of course.
stalwart and a regular now at
Yeah.
TIFF. How does it feel to be part of his movie, the first one that was shot outside Canada?
Oh, it's such an honor. I've always been a huge, huge fan of his, and honestly, it was thrilled to be invited to work with him, and he didn't disappoint. He's a great visionary, a wonderful person, delightful to be around, great sense of humor, so smart. It's lovely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, since a single man, the gays are in love with you.
That's our favorite
And
movie
honestly,
ever.
oh,
Since then, no,
well,
but-
that's.
no, come on.
They,
Didn't it go
they
back
loved you,
further?
well, that's when they totally fell in love with you. But this character in this movie is going to cement your status as an icon.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
You're going to have to get ready with that new status,
Yeah,
honey. You really are.
okay.
A pleasure, an absolute pleasure, and indeed an honour.
So nice
Final
to
quick word.
meet
Whose
you.
dress are you wearing tonight?
It's John Battista Valle.
Does he know you've got it on?
I hope so. I know. Thank you.
Take care. Good luck with the movie.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
How are you?
I'm good, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good to be in Toronto.
In this surreal situation of an opening, right?
It
In this
would be
dark
cool,
and
though.
lonely night, talking to two gentlemen.
Yeah, worrying about the next move.
Couldn't be worse.
Well, could be better. It depends which way you look at it.
Well, exactly. I know you play a guru in this movie. Yeah.
I play a psychopath.
A psychopath and a guru. Where do gurus go for advice? You know, is that like the top of the tree?
Yeah, I don't really know. I guess they go to other gurus, or they must have a support network. You know, they must sort of have like secret meetings. You know, or like the Bohemian Grove or something, like these places where they meet in secret, where they can all help each other while they're helping the rest.
Like a society.
There's a real buzz that this is probably one of Cronenberg's most emotionally complicated movies. What makes it such a depth of cinematic kind of interest? What makes it so complicated?
Well, I think the, all this and fame and glamour and the paparazzi and the idea of being famous and you got your star on the Walk of Fame. It's a fever dream in a way, and I think people who want that and need to be validated on the screen or by something that they do. There's a little bit of a desperation in that, you know.
And just fame as an
And
actor.
I'm sure, we have it, right? Like, I started acting because I was like, I sure don't want to be totally ignored and would be like nothing happened while I was here on Earth.
But does
So
fame
I
get in
think
the
I'll-
way
I
of
think
your
I'll do
ability as
some-
an actor? Does fame sometimes
Yeah.
become too much of an obstacle?
Can
And how do you balance that?
It's hard to do, but so I think. But anyway, David told a kind of a Greek myth or like a very primal story about family and about need. But he said it in this crazy glitzy world, but it's actually very about family and kind of incestuous relationships. You know, it's classic Cronenberg intensity. I
Well,
think.
good luck with
Yeah,
it.
thank you, man.
I'm sure it'll be
Thanks.
another
Cheers.
success.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
How are you feeling? Relaxed on the carpet, enjoying this evening?
Sweating like a crazy
It's really
person.
hot, right?
Crazy, Jesus Christ.
Can somebody dab this man down, please?
I need some powder around here.
Yeah, can somebody help me? So listen, obviously your second pairing with Cronenberg after Cosmopolis. How does it feel to be back working with him again?
I mean, I love working with David. I agreed to do this like without having read the script. I mean, I would do it a million times over. I mean, he's just a really good person and obviously an amazing artist. And yeah, he's just really great to work with.
Yeah, now this is like one of those Hollywood movies where everyone's kind of kooky and crazy. You know, is that really what Hollywood's like, or do you actually sit at home with a mug of cocoa watching the TV?
I do actually do that quite a lot.
You do?
But like, I think that's what makes me weirder though. A bit. I guess people are quite weird. I mean, you kind of, it attracts a certain type of person. They need to fill some kind of void. And they're obviously quite sensitive as well. And then you're unemployed 95% of the time, so the pressure of that kind of builds up.
Obviously, this is a particularly strong cast. You always bring good casts to your movie. What should the audiences expect that they haven't seen in the Cronenberg film before?
Well, I've never done anything remotely like it. I mean, this is a movie about Hollywood, and I've never been particularly myself obsessed with Hollywood one way or the other. But it really was this brilliant script by Bruce Wagner, who is obsessed with Hollywood, lives there and has worked there, and the script was fantastic. And so it is really a kind of movie that I haven't remotely made. And in fact, it's the first time I've ever shot any film in the U.S. I've never shot a footage film in America until now, and I shot in Hollywood in all the key spots. You know, Hollywood Boulevard, Rodeo Drive, Chateau Marmont. That was actually very cathartic for me after all these years.
It's like your own map to the stars, I suppose.
Well, we did create our own maps. You had to. I mean, when you're scheduling a shoot, you do that. So yes, we were our own stars and made our own maps.
Yeah, I mean, I think this movie, though, it's not like a Hollywood glitzy movie, is it? You know, I mean, there's a Hollywood element, but it's still very David Cronenberg, because you are kind of obsessed with, you know, the dysfunctionality of kind of humanity.
You know, I think that I'm not the only one. I mean, in my life, I'm not, but in your art, you are looking. Look, George Bernard Shaw, the famous Irish playwright, said, "Conflict is the essence of drama." You know, and conflict is not always physical violence, but it's often psychological violence and conflict. And so, naturally, when things go right, you have a very boring movie, a movie about nice, sweet people who nothing goes wrong for. That's not very interesting.
Sure.
So I don't think it's unusual. The interest in dysfunction. Let's put it that way.
You've been quoted as saying that this is a family drama set against a Hollywood backdrop, as opposed to a Hollywood satire. What's the difference?
Well, a satire. I mean, people these days use the word satire to just mean something that's kind of nasty. But the real meaning, and because I'm kind of pedantic and literary, a real satire is a very extreme, exaggerated kind of, you know, Gulliver's Travels was a true satire, and Jonathan Swift was a great satirist, but it was always an element of fantasy. For example, he wrote an essay called A Modest Proposal, which proposed to solve the Irish famine problem, this was a long time ago, by having the Irish eat their children. And he went into great detail about which children would taste best and how you would cook them. So that's satire.
That's detail.
This movie is actually realistic. It's too realistic for me to be called satire. That's Bruce and I, Bruce Wagner, the writer. We resist the label satire because it's too easy and it's not really accurate.
And how important is it for you as a Canadian filmmaker, you know, to actually make global cinema? You know, because you're not trying to make local movies, you're trying to make movies that actually reach out beyond Canada.
I'm not even thinking about that. I mean, I'm assuming that something that intrigues me will intrigue other people, and that's the only way you can do it, because it's very hard to make a movie. It took me 10 years to get this movie made. And so you have to, each time you go back to it, because suddenly there's another producer who maybe has a way to get it made for you and find the money, you have to go read it again and still love it, because there's a chance that a year later you won't love it. So it has to be something that you have great passion for. And that transcends any considerations of, you know, local or this or that. I mean, if there was something very specific to, let's say, Toronto, which is where I've always lived, I wouldn't hesitate to do it. But, you know, so it's not really an issue for me.
Well,
fantastic. Yeah, thanks, David. Cheers.
David.
Yeah.
Well done.